Well, last night's shutout kind of felt like the end of the season for the Blue Jackets. Let's talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Let's talk about the game for a little bit. I want to talk about tonight's game as well, or the game that's happening in like 5 hours because it's noon already somehow. And then usual stuff. If there's some questions and stuff, we'll do that in the third segment, because as much as I love when you guys interact with the show, I really appreciate it. Like, it's awesome. I am very stupid and can only do one thing at a time. And that one thing, unfortunately, has to be talking. And then I will do some reading in the third segment if there are questions, etc., in there for me to deal with. But let's talk about the game last night for at least a little bit, because there's not a lot to say necessarily. This game felt like, okay, this is the nail in the coffin, right? And they've been trending downwards basically since the outdoor game. But I think there's a handful of reasons for that. I think fatigue is one, like just straight up physical fatigue. I think emotional fatigue is there as well. Like they've been running on for Johnny all season, right? They've been playing for Johnny. They've been winning for Johnny. Like Sean Monahan has been here, like coming to work because Johnny's jersey is in the store next to it, right? I wonder if they've just kind of run out of gas, like emotionally and physically, right? Like, it's a young team. It's a team that is not used to playing meaningful hockey for this long, right? Like, we've talked about it all season long. They played meaningful hockey in January for the first time in what felt like a million years. Then they did it in February. Then they did it in March. And like, it's April 6th. I think the meaningful hockey finished last night, but playing meaningful hockey on April 5th for the Blue Jackets after what happened last season when they were miserably bad, the season before that when they were worse, losing Johnny over the summer, like the fact that they played meaningful hockey this long, I think is a big win. But man, it kind of sucks that they seem to be going out like with a whimper instead of a bang, right? They were right there. They were in the mix. They'd been in the mix all season. They were in that playoff spot for a lot of, on and off all season. They really built up a lot of ground, and then they just seem to have let it slip away. Like, again, last night, the Avs game was bad goaltending. It was bad defense. Last night, it was just kind of bad everything, right? Like, I know a lot of people, myself included, sometimes foaming at the mouth to blame Elvis, right? Like, I'm not blaming him for that first goal. I didn't see any of it. Like, second goal, gotta have that one, right? And then third period, just went from bad to worse, right? And there was that story, obviously, about Elvis took everyone out to dinner in Toronto to apologize for playing so badly against the Avalanche, which is a great story. You've got to back that up, though, right? And 5 goals on 27 shots is not backing up that apology, right? You can buy all the dinners in the world. You've got to be better. That being said, yes, Elvis allowed 5 goals. However, the number of goals scored by the Blue Jackets, 0. Like, it's really easy to sit here and blame the goaltending, because allowing 5 goals is not good, right? But scoring 0 goals is equally bad, because then what you're doing is you're looking at Elvis to be perfect. And Elvis is not going to be perfect. Yes, he's got one shutout on the season. I think he's had maybe 3 or 4 more games where he's had the shutout rolling until like really, really late in the third period, right? And then it gets ruined by, like the Oilers game was one. I think the second Leafs game actually was another one where they were up 5-0 until I think there was like 3 minutes left in the game and they broke the shutout. So like Elvis is not going to be perfect. The odds are not in his favor for that. He has to be better. The whole team had to be better. I thought everyone was I thought Adam Fantilli looked promising. Didn't get any offense going. Like I thought everyone was pretty bad last night. Some guys were less bad than others, but no one was as good as they needed to be. And that's kind of been the story for the last 2-3 weeks, basically since the outdoor game. Like they forgot how to score goals for like a week and a half. I thought, hey, maybe that game against Nashville, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing something here. The game against Vancouver, they scored 6 goals in that game, and then plus the shootout goal, they scored 8 against the Preds. Like I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here, and maybe not. Like again, no one was good enough. 5-on-5, they were decent, like possession wise. They just couldn't get anything going. In total, the Maple Leafs created about 2.5 goals of like expected goals, and allowed about 1.5 goals. So really, this game should have finished, if we round up/down, this game should have finished like 3-2 in overtime or 3-2 in the shootout. So yes, on the one hand, Elvis allowed probably 2 more goals than he should have done, but the team scored like 2 goals fewer than they should have done. It should have met in the middle. They didn't. No one was good enough. Like they were, I think, improved defensively from the game against the Avalanche, where again Elvis wasn't good enough, but the defense was also kind of miserable in that game. Beyond that, like again, I've said this I think like 3 episodes straight now. No more moral victories, just actual victories, right? Like I'm tired of, oh well, they improved this, they improved that, they're getting close, they're getting there. Like just win the damn game, right? Playoff dreams are not dead yet. It does mean I believe that they will have to win every single game for the rest of the season, and Montreal will have to lose every single game. Near enough. Montreal is I think 6 points up on the Blue Jackets, and I believe still has a game in hand. So the Blue Jackets just have to I'm just pulling up the standings real quick. Okay, so yeah, Montreal has played 76 games and has 83 points. So Montreal can top out. Like if Montreal loses every single game going forward, and the Blue Jackets win every single game going forward, the Blue Jackets will, I believe, if my very quick math is correct, will finish with, I want to say 91 points. The Blue Jackets, like that's the max number of points the Blue Jackets can get right now, I believe, is 91. Again, my math might be wrong on that. I'm doing it in a hurry. They have 7 games left, so there is 14 potential points. 14 plus 77 is 91, which means that the Canadiens, who have 6 games left, need to get. If the Canadiens win 4 of their last 6 games, then it doesn't matter, right? There is still a path to the Blue Jackets, but they have to win at least 5 of their last 7 games. Or maybe even 6 of their last 7 games because of tiebreakers and stuff. 6 of 7 games. It's not impossible. It's also not super likely, right? Especially when you look at how they've been playing the past month. but especially the past, 2.5 weeks. I miss when I had confidence in this team, right? And maybe that's me asking too much, but I watched the game last night and I just spent a lot of it being like, man, I just don't expect anything of these guys anymore, right? Which is kind of like that kind of sucks to watch your team like that. At the beginning of the season, it was, they didn't win every game, but they made it exciting. They looked like they were trying. They looked like they cared. It just looks like they're kind of done now, which is frustrating for a lot of reasons, right? That being said, they have a chance to pull it back. They are not mathematically eliminated. I don't think they'll be mathematically eliminated for another kind of week or so, which does mean that we do have to put up with the hope for another kind of week or so, week and a half. Again, depending on what happens around them. They're not completely out of it yet. It's very unlikely that they crawl back into it. But if they win tonight, that will help, right? So let's take a quick break, and then when we get back, we'll talk about the Ottawa Senators and what's going on there, because that, I think, it's going to be a tough game tonight. Let's talk about it, and we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the Senators. First off, I've seen there are a couple of comments that have popped up. Love the interaction. Can't wait to interact with you guys. I can only do one thing at a time, and that is, unfortunately, right now, talk. So if you have comments, questions, etc., I will read them in the third segment. We'll deal with it in the third segment. That'll be kind of my my talk to you guys instead of talk at you guys segment. So again, if you have comments, questions, etc., throw them in the chat, and I will get to them probably in about 8 or 9 minutes when I finish talking about the Senators. So I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I could just only do one thing. And unfortunately, that one thing right now is talking. So let's do that, in fact, and let's talk about the Ottawa Senators, who are 5-4-1 in their last 10 games. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now. They have 88 points in 76 games, which is genuinely shocking, I feel like. I expected them to take a step forward, because that's what kind of they've been doing for the past handful of seasons, right? Is that they've been taking small steps forward. They finished what was it? They finished 10 points out of a playoff spot last season. I expected them to take again a step forward in that. Excuse me, I'm reading the wrong thing. They finished 13 points out. A full 12 points ahead of the Blue Jackets, just as a heads up. But, again, I expected them to take a step forward. I didn't expect them to take this big of a step forward. I think getting a goaltender helped. Linus Ullmark has been really good for them. I think their young guys are probably, again, I think they are a season or two ahead of the Blue Jackets in terms of where their rebuild is. They started drafting high. Whatever year it was, they drafted Brady Tkachuk, which I want to say was 2017 or 2018. Blue Jackets really kind of bottomed out 2021, I want to say, which would have been the Johnson draft. So they've had, 3 years head start on the Blue Jackets. The young guys are all hitting at the same time, right? Like Jake Sanderson, I'm a huge fan of Jake Sanderson. What a rock star. Brady Tkachuk is an excellent player. Tim Stützle is great. That's a guy that I would have on my team any day of the week. All of their young guys are kind of, again, hitting at the right time, which is great for them. Frustrating for us, right? But the Blue Jackets played well the last time they faced off against the Senators. They lost 3-2 in regulation. But I felt like it was a game where it could very easily have gone the other way, right? It very well could have been a 3-2 Blue Jackets win in regulation. I don't think anyone played badly necessarily. I don't think anyone played out of this world amazing, but here we are, right? Like I said, guys to watch for the Senators. Jake Sanderson is up there. He's got 5 points in his last 5 games. Shane Pinto has 3 assists in his last 5 games. Tkachuk is there, Stützle's there, Drake Batherson who I believe scored on the Blue Jackets the last time these two teams faced off, has got 60 points in 76 games, which is better than I expected from him, quite frankly. Blue Jackets are going to be seeing Linus Ullmark tonight. Anton Forsberg played last night in, I believe, what was a win for the Senators against, I want to say, the Lightning, but I might be wrong about that. It was a win. I just don't remember who it was against. But either way, Anton Forsberg was in net. It's going to be Linus Ullmark tonight against Daniil Tarasov, which I believe that was the goalie matchup that happened last time, which it's only been a week. It was Ullmark versus Tarasov. Tarasov 3 goals allowed on 24 shots. Again, not amazing, not the end of this world bad. Ullmark was very good, made 28 of 30 saves, it looks like. Could have gone worse. Be nice if it went better tonight for the Blue Jackets, but we'll see. Again, something I've been saying for basically every game, keep it at even strength. Sens have a decent power play. They've got a middle-of-the-road penalty kill. Blue Jackets, abysmal at both. Senators, one of the better face-off teams in the league, which will be a problem, I'm sure. They don't score a lot, but they also don't allow a lot. And something that I said kind of colloquially when I was doing the preview for the last time these two teams faced off against each other is that they play a lot of close games. You know, they play a lot of 2-1 games or 3-2 games, which does appear to be true based on, I believe, I saw it on Micah Blake McCurdy's Blue Sky, where he basically was like, the Senators don't know what to do if they have like a 2-goal lead on a team. They just kind of stop knowing how to play hockey. So it should be a close game. My hope is that it's a close game. My hope is that it's a close game in favor of the Blue Jackets. But again, I have so little faith in this team right now, which doesn't feel good. Again, I would love to be confident. I would love to be like, man, this team, again, they would like the team of destiny all season long. And then they hit March and they just kind of, again, they just ran out of steam. My prediction is going to be that the Blue Jackets are going to win because, again, we're, game 76? And I think I've picked the Blue Jackets to win every single game so far. So, again, I'm not going to break my streak now. Let's reverse the score from last time. And let's say a 3-2 Blue Jackets win. And let's say a Sean Monahan goal. No, let's say a Kent Johnson goal. That feels right. I like the Johnson, Monahan, Marchenko line. I thought that was fun. I don't think it was as dominant as I wanted it to be. It was fine. 15 shot attempts for, 11 against. It's not as good as, shockingly, the Voronkov, Sillinger, Olivier line was the best line for the Blue Jackets last night. They had 13 shot attempts for and only 5 against. But I like the Monahan, Johnson, Marchenko line, again, because Kent Johnson has huge Sonny Gaudreau vibes. And I I just feel like there's something there with Johnson and Monahan. And obviously Monahan and Marchenko have been money all season long. Let's go for your Kent Johnson goal. I've got a good feeling about it. But honestly, my hope is just kind of that they score a goal, any goal, please. We'll see. 3-2 Blue Jackets win. Kent Johnson goal. Let's get it done. Let's have some positivity going into the next game, which I believe is also the Ottawa Senators, because the schedule is weird. It makes no sense. And they're doing the entire season series over 11 days, which, sure. Going to take another quick break, and then I am going to dive into the comment section. So again, if you have comments, questions, etc., you want to talk about in the third segment, about goaltending, about how the season is going so far, about tonight's game, things like that, we'll do that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. I'm going to go ahead and dive on into the comments. First of all, thanks for making this your first listen of the day. If it is your first listen of the day, I appreciate you. If it's not your first listen of the day, I appreciate you as well. I like doing these live shows. I wish I could do them more often. Unfortunately, as we all know, time zones. But I love having the interaction when you guys are here. Let's dive in. do you even lift 1774? All teams are stepping off for playoff style. CBJ just isn't there yet. IMO. I agree. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the first segment, which is I think that the team is tired. And how rare is it that a team goes from being a lottery pick to being a playoff team? Because the only team that I can think of in recent history that has kind of done that has been the New Jersey Devils, who picked, I think, 4th overall, so 2nd overall when they picked Simone Nemec, and then made the playoffs the year after that. Like, that's the only time in recent memory that I can think about it. It's still a huge success this season. Like, I know I've been kind of complaining and kind of miserable about it, but this season is a success. I feel good about this season. I think when we finish the season and kind of look at the whole thing, I think we're going to see big improvements from a lot of different guys. But they're just not there yet. Build on this year. We'll go again next year and see what happens. Z-Man Jace, I'm tired of hearing people complain that we should have made moves at the deadline. This year was pure house money that those guys earned. Who with even a bit of empathy would move someone? I agree. I understand that this is a business, right? And you have to make decisions for business purposes as well, right? And in hindsight, would I have moved Ivan Provorov? Yeah, probably. Would I have moved Sean Kuraly? Yeah, probably. But okay. When I say I would have moved him, I probably wouldn't have personally moved it. I would have been okay if Don Waddell had sold at the deadline. I don't know that I would have been able to. Like you say, I don't think that you can take anyone out of that room that was there last year, right? If, someone like a JVR had, garnered interest and you could flip someone like that wasn't there last season, I could kind of understand that. I could see, the logic in that. But yeah, it felt very much like you keep this team together. And it didn't work out. Okay, fine. It didn't work out. You've got 2 first-round picks this year. You've got your first-round pick next year. Like, see what you can do this summer. There are definitely moves to be made. There are definitely improvements to be made. There are definitely things that need to be done this summer. I am having trouble sitting here and criticizing Don Waddell for having confidence in the team that looked confident at the deadline, right? Is it frustrating that they fell apart immediately after the deadline? Yeah, but also, I think it's kind of expected. I think other teams improved. Other teams bought at the deadline. Other teams sold at the deadline and got worse. Like, Blue Jackets just kind of stayed even, and I think the teams around them got better. And it didn't work out. It was a gamble. You don't win them all. Like you said, house money. It is what it is. I get it. It's frustrating, but you can only, hindsight's 2020, right? You can guarantee that if this team had sold at the deadline, people would still be complaining, right? People would still be frustrated that they gave up on the season. And not necessarily the same people, right? I think there is a segment of people that complain that draft picks are meaningless. At a certain point, you can only have so many draft picks before you have too many draft picks, right? And you can't keep drafting top 10 in the first round and not expect to get any better, right? Because then what happens is you turn into Buffalo, and nobody wants to be Buffalo. You can guarantee people would have complained about selling and, getting another first round pick. You're like, why do you've picked so much in the first round the past 4 seasons. At a certain point, you've got to take that step forward. They thought, hey, can we take that step forward right now with the roster that we have? They gambled, yes. They missed. It happens. People would have complained if they'd bought at the deadline and gave up assets. People would have complained if they'd sold at the deadline. People are complaining that they stayed pat at the deadline. I don't think there's a winning situation here. You've just got to kind of own what you've got to own what you did. I don't think Don Waddell regrets staying pat at the deadline. I don't know that there was someone available at the deadline that could have improved this team. Like, I know people have talked about Spencer Knight apparently being available. I don't know that Spencer Knight was available until Florida were like, hey, we want Seth Jones. What's that going to cost us? And what it cost them was Spencer Knight in a first-round pick, I think. You know? I don't know. Like, Spencer Knight would have improved this team, sure. But I don't know that unless Florida's calling you to say, hey, can we have X player? And you say, sure, can we have Spencer Knight? That's going to happen, right? I don't know. I don't think Florida was out here shopping Spencer Knight. I don't think that people knew Spencer Knight was available. Is it the job as a GM to know who's available and who's not? Sure. But unless Don Waddell called and specifically said, hey, I want Spencer Knight, what's it going to cost? And honestly, it probably would have cost too much. I know that, like, the Blackhawks got made out like bandits in that trade, getting Spencer Knight and a first-round pick for, Seth Jones, who I think is a very cromulent player. He is a perfectly acceptable defenseman that has paid probably too much money. Would you have given up Zach Werenski for Spencer Knight in a first-round pick? Probably not. Werenski and Jones are not necessarily comparable players, but that's kind of how I'm looking at this. Is I'm like, okay, what did they give up for this player? So the first Rantanen trade, for example, Carolina gave up an elite first line wing and a young depth centerman. Okay, cool. People got mad that they didn't go out and get Rantanen. Okay, fine. Well, would you get rid of Kirill Marchenko and Cole Sillinger to get Mikko Rantanen? No, probably not, right? So, yeah, hindsight is 2020, but it is what it is. I didn't mean to go into a big rant about the deadline, but that's kind of where I'm about where I'm at right now. The deadline is the deadline. It's done. You stop complaining about it. Hindsight is 2020. They believed. I'm not going to criticize Don Waddell for believing in the team, because that's what I've been doing all season long, right? Is believing in this team. So I'm not going to criticize him for doing the same thing. Moving on. Do you even lift 70-74? Do you think Voronkov is a first-line winger? I like him physically, but I don't know. I think Marchenko could be even better with a more skilled winger. I have been going back and forth about this basically for the last month and a half. I like Dmitry Voronkov a lot. I do not think Dmitry Voronkov is a first-line player. That being said, Dmitry Voronkov thrives when he has a Russian on his wing. And I don't know if that's like a familiarity thing. I don't know whether that's just that he has chemistry with Marchenko specifically, or if it's just that it's hard to play hockey when you can't understand anyone and they can't understand you, right? Like, imagine, again, if I got dropped into the KHL or whatever league that there are not a ton of English speakers, I would probably suffer. I would probably struggle because I couldn't communicate with people, right? And yes, I think his English is better than people say. It's better than the media says, because he does that Yevgeny Malkin thing where he pretends that his English is worse than it is because he doesn't want to talk to the media, which I completely understand. That being said, having Voronkov with Marchenko is great for Voronkov. I agree. I think Marchenko with an even more skilled winger could be even better. And that's why I like the Monahan, Marchenko, Johnson line a lot, because Johnson has come on in leaps and bounds this season. Like, he might be the most improved player for me. I think he's been excellent. He's been quiet recently, but when you look at what happened last season with him, where he couldn't get in the lineup and he finished with, 15 points on the season, something like that. To his first, he had a 50-point season this year, and he's not done yet. 22 goals, 28 assists, like a real improvement. He had 16 points last season in 42 games. Spent a bunch of time in the minors. Kent Johnson feels like the ideal guy to put on that line. The problem becomes then, what do you do with Adam Fantilli, right? Who has struggled this season, sophomore slump, not ideal line mates, etc., etc. I didn't hate the Jenner, Fantilli, Van Riemsdyk line last night. Could be better. I still think that he needs, you need to go out and get a guy to play with Fantilli. But yeah, I agree. I like Voronkov a lot. I think he plays a good role on this team. I think he's improved a lot this season. Can't complain about 20 goals for a guy still on his entry-level contract, right? I don't know that first line is for him. I just don't know where you put him in the lineup, because do you put him on the second line? Do you do, Voronkov with Fantilli and Jenner and see what happens there? Do you put someone else there? I don't know. People are hating on Chinakhov recently, but I still like him. I still think that there's something there. I personally I'm shocked that a guy that missed several months with a concussion is having trouble getting back up to speed. I expect him to be better next season. Give him the summer off. Let's go. But I don't know. I don't know what the answer is with Voronkov yet. There's definitely a place in the lineup for him, and I think he's definitely he is a good second line player or a very good third line player. I just don't know how the team is going to shake out. Again, what does Don Waddell do this summer? Does he go out and get, I've been joking about him going out to get Mitch Marner for basically the whole season now. Do they go out and get Mitch Marner? Then what happens? Do you roll Voronkov, Fantilli, Marner as your second line? Or do you throw Marner on that top line and put Johnson back on the second line? I don't know. I don't know what the team's going to look like. But for this team to reach its full potential, Dmitry Voronkov likely shouldn't be on the first line, is the short end to my very, very long-winded answer for that question. Yeah, Johnson's improved a lot. Stronger in puck battles. His skating has really improved as well. Him and Fantilli as well. Fantilli gives turnovers, but he'll get better. I agree. Is he even 21 yet? I don't think so. I don't think he turns 21 until November. He's fine. Again, we just watched the Avalanche play. We just watched Nate MacKinnon, steal souls, essentially. Nathan MacKinnon, I believe, took at least 2 or 3 seasons before he really hit his stride. And I see a lot of Fantilli. So I see a lot of MacKinnon in Fantilli's game, right? I don't think he'll become that kind of point monster, but there's something there, right? So Nate MacKinnon, we'll wrap this up in a second here, I promise. But Nate MacKinnon's first season, he had 63 points in 82 games as a rookie. Next season, 38 points in 64 games. Season after that, 52 in 72, 53 in 82, 2017-18, which was his 5th full season in the league. So he would have been 22, I want to say, 22 going on 23, 97 points in 74 games. It clicked. Since then, 99 points, 93 points, 65 in the COVID-shortened season in 48 games, 88 points in 65, 111 points in 71, 140 points last year, which is insane, 115 points this year. If you can get 2/3 of that from Fantilli, that feels like a win, right? But you got to give him time. Guys like Fantilli take time to have an impact in this league, the way that they play. He'll get there. Fantilli's going to be a monster. He'll be fine. Is he struggling right now? Sure. Will he improve? Sure. That's kind of how I feel about it. I think that's kind of all I've got right now. Again, shout out to you guys for coming to hang out in the chat. I appreciate you guys. Questions, comments, etc. You guys make it a lot more fun when I do these live episodes. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down tonight's game. Hopefully, it'll be much more fun than last night's game against the Leafs, but that'll be tomorrow's episode. Thank you for listening to Locked On Blue Jackets, making it your first listen of the day every single day. I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTEI. You can find me on Blue Sky without the hyphen without the underscore, excuse me. I know what punctuation is, I promise. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter. We are free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. And if you have comments, questions, criticisms, please feel free to email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you once again for listening. And until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.